and welcome to another Smaulgld live stream. Tonight is Thursday, November 8th, 2018, and tonight's topic, Trust the Scam. We're going to be talking about Jeff Sessions, QAnon, and other topics related to a lot of narrative pumping that we see across the mainstream media, the alternative media. But tonight we're going to be focused on the alternative media because I believe much of the alternative media is as bad, if not worse, than some of the mainstream media in the way they pump their stories, their narratives based on incomplete information, incomplete facts, and basically churn out the stories that people want to hear. And worse, I think that the people that follow alternative media are in some respects even more fervent in their belief that they're actually listening to the truth. And they will defend these narratives to the point of getting very upset when you point out the flaws in some of them. But before we get to tonight's topic of Trust the Scam, let's take a look at, some might call the markets a scam, the gold, silver, and equity markets, as well as the crypto markets. Now, gold closed today. Today was not a gold day. Today was not a story about gold or silver. They both moved sideways. Gold closed at $12.22. It bounced within $5 of itself. $12.20, $12.25, closed at $12.22, $12.23. Same with silver. Silver had a worse day though, and that gold-silver ratio is not looking too sweet. Silver fell a lot more. Silver fell all the way down to about $14.42, and it had been as high as $14.54. So silver was down a bit on the day. Gold was essentially flat. Gold-silver ratio, which is one of the false narratives in the alternative financial media community, is now well over 80-1, is actually over 85-1. We're going to talk about that, but let's take a look now over at the cryptocurrencies, and there's plenty of false narratives in the crypto space as well. Today was an interesting day in crypto, pretty much flat. Fell earlier in the middle of the night and then basically hung on for a while. Bitcoin, $6,411, down 1.5%. Ethereum down almost 3% to $211. Bitcoin Cash fell 6% down to $575. Litecoin had a bit of a fall, down 4% to about $52. And Ethereum Classic fell about less than 2% at $9.44. So also, let's just take a quick look at our U.S. mint sales before we get into our story. October mint sales of gold, American Gold Eagles, sold 21,000. It's a pretty decent month. Not great, but it wasn't bad. And 1.43 million American Silver Eagles. So 21,000 American Gold Eagles in the 1 ounce size and 1.43 million of the American Silver Eagles. November's off to a so-so start in gold. 4,000 1 ounce American Gold Eagles sold. And a pretty decent 405,000 American Silver Eagles so far. All right, so it looks like we're ready to take a look at today's story. Now, one of the big stories today, post-election and post-appointment of the new acting Attorney General and the removal of Jeff Sessions, was this Protect Mueller rally that we saw across the country. Now, so let's hit our story for tonight, which is Trust the Scam. Uh-oh. We got a moron here.
Presenting the distinguished international news commentator and foreign correspondent, Smaulgld.
This has been an extraordinary week in world affairs.
No, I told Hillary Clinton that that's moronic.
All right. Well, let's get into it now. So these protests today, Protect Mueller. Now, this is something that the Democrats, the left, however you want to characterize them, have said that they were willing to take to the streets if Mueller was removed. Now, why do they care so much about the special counsel, Robert Mueller? Why have they raised him to a level of hero status. You have to protect Mueller. Well, the reason that the left and the Democrats believe that Mueller needs to be protected is they are convinced, there is no doubt in their mind, that Robert Mueller has the goods on Trump. He colluded with Russia. He's not my president. He's only in there, and he only managed to beat Hillary Clinton for one reason, was he colluded with the Russians. He is Putin's puppet, and those are all facts. And Mueller is just taking his time, ruminating over it, handing down indictments left and right, picking off all of the Trump deputies, and then he's going to bring the hammer down on Donald Trump and hit him with indictments. And he's going to be marched out of the White House, thrown into a dungeon, and maybe even Hillary Clinton will take his place. That's how much they believe that Robert Mueller, he is the knight in shining armor that is going to end this nightmare, which is another one of the catchphrases and hashtags that they use. And to remove Robert Mueller by getting rid of Sessions would pave the way to remove Robert Mueller, and that would be the worst thing that could happen, because then Mueller time would never happen, and you wouldn't get to remove the orange Cheeto that is in the White House that needs to be removed and can only be removed by one man, especially now that we see that voting hasn't done it, protests haven't done it. The only thing that can remove him is possibly 2020, but they cannot wait that long. He's got to go, and Mueller is the way to do it. Now, interestingly enough, another narrative came about, very suspicious to me, and I never ever believe most of when these stories come out. For example, gold-backed yuan, J.P. Morgan has 800 million ounces of silver, petro yuan, China to crush the dollar, BRICS to crush the dollar, silver shortage, gold, silver ratio, unsustainable, AC chain is going to digitize the world and issue a SDR, as the Rothschilds say, sovereign size gold buy in 45 days, gold set to skyrocket, silver set to skyrocket. All these stories, the first time I hear them, my BS antenna goes up. I look at them, and I can come up with lots of holes in the stories to the point where I realize they are total BS. Now, we've seen how the left has been convinced of their own story, the Russian narrative, which, if you go through that, there is not one shred of evidence that anyone can point to on the left that should convince them that Trump is and has been Putin's puppet and is colluding with Russia, has colluded with Russia. The reason that story has gained traction is they all believe it. They want to believe it, and it's in their heads, and they'll get furious with you if you tell them it's not true. You're a shill. You watch too much Fox News. They won't listen to you. They don't want to listen to it. Well, it's the same thing on the other side. Now, here's the interesting thing about Q. Q comes out and says, don't worry about Sessions' inaction. Don't worry that Sessions appears to be doing nothing, that Sessions appears to be a potted plant. No, it's all part of the plan. It's one giant ruse. And what's happening behind the scenes, you'll never know. But we at Q, we know there's 20 trillion sealed indictments. And they're going to get everyone from pedophilia to Hillary Clinton. And the world is going to be a glorious place. So just trust that Sessions, behind that Keebler elf demeanor, is actually a super prosecutor, and he's busy behind the scenes. Oh, but what about Trump berating him in public? What about that? Oh, that's just part of the ruse. That's just part of the plan. Trump is only doing that so you won't pay attention to the fact that Sessions and Mueller's in on it too. Mueller and Sessions are working to rid the world of the evil swamp that exists in Washington. And they've got it all figured out. And they don't want to let on that this is going on. So, they make it seem now you have the Q people are trusting the plan. Another narrative. So you got the Russian narrative that the left is all invested in. And now you've got the Q people invested in Sessions the same way the Russian people are invested in Sessions. Sessions is the man they want to keep. The man they want to keep is the man on the left that's going to make sure, if he stays, that Mueller stays. And that Mueller will bring Trump down and expose the Russian collusion, and Trump's going to jail. On the right, the Q people are saying, Q tells us, good luck with that. We've got Sessions, and this is he's not working for you. He's working for us, and he's going to get all the bad actors, and he's going to drain the swamp. So now you have these two opposing narratives. Lock him up, which is you need Sessions and Mueller, and lock her up, in which, guess what you need? Sessions and Mueller. Now, when I hear that, I say to myself, my belief is if the Russian narrative was made up and fake, well, then you needed to have somebody and a group of people to promote that narrative. And we have seen enough evidence of how Comey, Rosenstein, Mueller, Strzok, Page, or did seem to gin up this Russian narrative. Now, it remains a theory, but there's enough evidence to indicate that there's documents that do support that theory. That there's books about it, and it doesn't mean that everything in those books is correct, but there is substantial evidence from source documents that the FBI was against Trump, did go out of the way to try to promote that Hillary would not be indicted, and that if she did get in and somehow Trump beat her, that they would have this insurance policy Russian narrative that they can go after. So there is evidence for that. There's no evidence other than the fake evidence, apparently, that Trump actually did collude with the Russians. But the interesting thing is that both sides have this vested interest in keeping Mueller in place. Now, we know why the Democrats and the left want to keep Mueller in place, because they've been convinced of the plan, probably more to go after Trump, more than the people who hatched the plan. The people that hatched the plan are all gone. There's only Mueller left. Remember, Comey is gone. Strzok is gone. Page is gone. All the people that were involved in hatching the plan are no longer there. Now Sessions is gone. Now, Sessions was never deemed to be part of the plan, but I always speculated that perhaps he was part of the plan at the beginning. He attached himself to Trump almost as somebody who would work with the Trump campaign and basically get embedded and therefore be rewarded with the attorney general position if he got elected, and then he could act as cover for this plan. And he has appointed Rosenstein, who we now have people saying that were in the FBI, Page and others, saying that he actually said that one way to remove Trump early on before he appointed this special counsel was he could wear a wire and get Trump saying ridiculous things, and they can get him removed under the 25th Amendment. So there does appear to be a lot of statements about people that are in the FBI conspiring to get rid of him. And then what happens is Comey, who was the former FBI director, he goes to Trump and he tells him some stuff about a dossier and prostitutes pissing on the bed, and he was there. And then they leak that to the press, so now that becomes a story. And then he gets fired, and then Comey leaks that he has documents about his conversations with Trump. Trump then apparently asked Rosenstein, should this guy be the FBI director? Rosenstein writes a letter to Trump saying why he should be fired. Trump fires Comey, and now Rosenstein then appoints a special counsel, Robert Mueller, to investigate whether Trump obstructed justice in firing Comey, and whether also to investigate what Trump had done as part of the potential Russian collusion. Now, interestingly enough, also, Rosenstein signed one of the FISA warrants, which was intended to figure out whether Trump had done all this. And the only reason that Rosenstein is managing or supervising the Mueller probe is because Sessions conveniently recused himself because he spoke to a Russian during the Cleveland Republican Convention, which was no need for him to recuse himself. So you have a situation now where that plan seems to be well sewn up, that they are going to go after Trump on the Russian collusion angle. If that doesn't work, they'll get him on the obstruction of justice. But it hasn't worked because it's gone on for far too long. That leads me to believe that Sessions either was in on it from the beginning or is just plain incompetent. And I've felt, now that's just a feeling, there's no basis for that. But when I look at the actions of him and you say, why, if he supposedly was one of Trump's first guys and you're the lawyer, you'd think he'd be doing an Avenatti on all this stuff and he'd be protecting the president and he would be actually going after his political adversaries. Instead, he's not only not going after the political adversaries like Clinton and so on, he's actually allowing a investigation to go on for years into Donald Trump's supposed Russian collusion, of which there's been nothing on Russian collusion. They indicted a Russian troll farm and a Russian group of individuals who are not going to get prosecuted because they supposedly bought Facebook ads, but they had nothing to do with Donald Trump. So what you have is a situation where both the left and the right have convinced themselves that Sessions needs to stay in place. The left say he needs to stay in place to get Trump on this Russian collusion, and the right has Q saying he needs to stay in place so that he can go after Clinton and on all of his political adversaries, and don't worry, we've got all these indictments. That led me to believe not just that Sessions was part of all this, but that Q is part of it. Because what Q managed to do was convince the right and the Republicans not to put pressure on Trump to get rid of Sessions, even though Sessions was doing nothing and Sessions was actually allowing Mueller to and the whole Russian collusion thing to take on a life of its own. If you think about it, it would never be part of a plan. You would never say, okay, let's let them think they're getting us, and let's let half the country believe so much that Trump colluded with Russia that they're willing to want him indicted, they're trying to remove him, they're willing to take to the streets. It's almost like that, if you remember the movie, I think it was called Bedtime for Hitler. They wanted to create I think it was for tax loss reasons, a Broadway play that would be a big bomb. I think it was called Bedtime for Hitler or Springtime for Hitler. It was a Mel Brooks movie. And what ended up happening is they wanted to make it so bad that it actually worked. So I don't see why they would create a situation where they'd have this ruse going on where Trump would say, hey, Sessions, do something. And then Sessions like, I ain't going to do anything. And then actually do that for 2 years and then say, oh, it's all part of the plan, you know, that Sessions is getting ready to pounce. They're really playing some kind of Pac-Man defense. Now, the reason that I think Q works, there's a lot of truth in that, but it doesn't involve Sessions. That's where I think the Q thing was a plant itself, to get people to think, don't worry, Sessions is doing his job. No, I think what's happening is Trump knew that Sessions was a mistake. Either he knows that Sessions was part of the, quote, deep state and is in on it with Rosenstein and Strzok and Page and all the rest of them, or he realizes that he's incompetent. And it could be both, or it could be the former. However, if Trump knows about Sessions, he also knows about the plot that's been hatched against him. And he also has all the documents, and he's holding them in his back pocket. And the only reason he hasn't released them is he hasn't needed to. And he's been indicating all along that he will. And in fact, he actually probably put the fear of God into Rosenstein. He knew about Rosenstein all along. And then he had him on the plane and he had a conversation with him. And Rosenstein doesn't know what he knows. He suspects he might know something. So I believe Trump has all of the documents. We know he has all the documents. We also know some of the Republicans and the Democrats have seen all of the documents. They've seen them unredacted. There's some documents they don't have, but they have enough documents to piece together what they think might have happened. So Trump knows what Mueller has, and he knows what Mueller doesn't have, because Trump knows his own behavior, and he also knows what they might have tried to concoct against him. And so there would be no need to have an inactive attorney general like Sessions for 2 years if he has the information. You would use it immediately and end the nightmare. The reason he doesn't do it is because he's learned about all this over the last 2 years. Okay, so what happens is you have people who push these narratives. I believe that the both sides have pushed false narratives. I don't think there is any Russian. Well, actually, they're both on the same side pushing the narrative. I don't think there is or was any Russian collusion, and I don't think Q is on the side of the right wing to promote that Sessions is the hero. I think they're both part of an elaborate ruse to say that that there's been Russian collusion, Mueller's going to find it, and therefore Sessions needs to be protected. And then they get the people on the right to go along with it. They said, don't worry about him doing nothing because he really is doing something, wink, wink, trust the plan. And there you have the ability where you can play off a scam with two narratives. Now that's kind of a mainstream media, not even a mainstream media scam. That's actually a deep state type of a plot. I mean, these people are very skilled at it. These aren't like just people behind a YouTube microphone. These are people who do law enforcement. FBI, CIA, National Intelligence, and Security. They know how to play this stuff. Now, those are much harder to pull off, but they pull those off on a national scale. When we deal with our alternative media stuff, you're dealing with rank amateurs, and yet they still manage. They either pump the mainstream narratives or they make up their own narratives, and people believe them. And now there's a reason for all this. The reason people believe these narratives, insist on these narratives. Look, you got people in the gold and silver community that have said things, predictions that have been demonstrably false. Gold, silver ratio, the price of silver, the price of gold, greatest wealth transfer ever to happen this decade. And yet people still treat these people as experts and gurus. Now, generally, when you're an expert or a guru, it's because you're right most of the time, half the time, some of the time, but not wrong the whole time. It's almost like you have these people, you lose, Beto loses, so he should run for president. That seems to be the logic. Well, he's made a number of bad calls over the last 10 years. In fact, they've all been wrong. But, yeah, we're going to elevate him to super guru now. He's a real expert. Trust the plan. Okay. But let's just now take a look at what they do. They use these fallacies, and what they're doing is they appeal to you. What Q did was appeals to you on your inside. You got inside knowledge. That is all you need to know. Now, what they did is the same thing with Mueller. They've created the narrative that, yeah, we know Trump has done all these shady things with Russia. There's a dossier, and they're saying it's all been proven. None of it's been proven. Comey said it's salacious and unverified. That doesn't matter. To them, they want to believe that Trump colluded with Russia, so they believe it. And they got Mueller time. They got Mueller on their side. Then there's other people who want to believe the Q story, that Sessions is ready to pounce. He's got 6 trillion sealed indictments, and he's going to go after everything and everyone that you never liked. Well, it's the same thing. You believe what you want to believe, and if someone trots along and gives you the inside scoop, well, then that is all I need to know. Trust the plan. Genius marketing. Trust the plan. Now, a lot of people who believe this stuff, they actually think they're independent thinkers. They got the inside scoop. And there's an expression, I think, when everybody thinks the same, there's little thinking going on at all. But in these cases where they think they have the inside scoop or they're being independent thinkers, it's actually, they may be in a minority, like, oh, well, not everybody listens to all these YouTubes that I listen to. Yeah, but a lot of people do, and they're all a big echo chamber. And it's the same thing with the people who believe the Mueller story. Yeah, it's not a majority of the country believes that, but there's enough people that believe these things, but not enough for them to think that they're not some type of they're not holding some type of inside knowledge. People love to have that inside knowledge. Oh, I got this video, I watched it, and they got the scoop. Well, it's the same thing. Mueller is going to do this. Q says that. And you can't prove any of it, but that's okay. You got the knowledge. You're on the inside. You know what's going on. And then the worst is someone comes along and says there's nothing there. That's when the people get violently upset, because once people find something, they get that certainty, something they can hang their hat on. Why silver's going to rise. Why Mueller's going to arrest Trump. Why Q is right, how they're going to have these sealed indictments are coming down. Why gold is set to skyrocket. Once you find it, and you find somebody or a narrative that actually supports what you want to hear, you cling to it. You want narratives you want to believe in. That's the most important thing. And then it goes back to, it's easy to trick people like that. You tell somebody what they want to hear. You speak nicely. You give a few facts. But the main thing you got to do is make it sound like, by the way, no one knows this. Yeah. Okay, big secret on the internet. And that's enough to convince them. And then it's very, very hard once, again, people follow people online that are demonstrably wrong. They keep telling you this is going to happen. It doesn't happen. Oh, but it's because of this. It's because they're wrong. And yet it's very hard to convince people that they've been tricked. It's easier to trick them in the first place. It's even easier to keep stringing them along. Keep paying a subscription, because if you stop paying the subscription and you stop believing, well, then it's not going to happen, I guess is how you think about it. So you just keep buying, you keep buying the subscription, you keep buying whatever they're selling, and you double down and you triple down. And the only people that benefits are the people pushing the narratives. But it should be apparent, but it's not. Now, we go through them. What they do a lot of the times is they say you can't prove it's not true. Now, if you think about that, that's, for example, once you get into that because somebody wants to believe it. So when you take these sexual harassment allegations and they say, well, you can't prove he didn't do it. Well, that's not the standard. And then you say, we believe survivors. And there's nothing wrong with it. You should believe survivors. But there's a difference between believing survivors and believing accusers. There's a big, big difference. But it doesn't matter. Once you want to believe something, and if someone wants to push a narrative, they'll push it. And once somebody makes an accusation and then you call them a survivor, it's very hard for you to say they're not a survivor, because they're going to say you can't prove he or she is not a survivor. Now, that sounds foolish. You say, well, that's illogical. Doesn't make any sense. It works on half the people. And it explains all the narratives that we have. Remember, AC chain was going to enslave humanity. The other thing they do, besides saying you can't prove it's not true, is they give you an anomaly. Like, yeah, but the documents say that they're not going to allow American citizens to do this. Well, that must mean, and then whatever wacko thing they say it must mean, and it's an anomaly. Why wouldn't they allow U.S. citizens to buy this into this ICO? And if you knew anything about securities laws, you'd say, well, because when you sell to U.S. citizens, then you're subject internationally. Everyone is subject, the issuer is subject to U.S. securities laws, and you don't want to be subject to them because they'll shut you down, fine you, and throw you in jail. So the thing is, if people don't have the knowledge, and they know you don't have the knowledge, and maybe they don't have it either, they just throw out the anomalies. Or they'll tell you something's going to happen when sovereign-sized gold buy in 45 days. Well, you know, they can extend that pump for 45 days. You know how many subscriptions you can get signed up in 45 days? How much gold and silver you can sell in 45 days? And then if it doesn't happen in 45 days, oh, trust me, just another 45 days. Keep buying. COMEX default, same thing. There's many, and the thing is, it sounds logical. There should be a COMEX default. We've done a few videos on this. But the thing is, every time you cry wolf, COMEX default for the last 15 years, and it doesn't happen, why would anyone fall for it again? Oh, because this time is different. But these are the same people who tell you this time isn't different. Silver shortage. We've run out of silver decades ago. If you listen to that story, gold-backed yuan, that was total false. No one ever corrected themselves on that. They all said China announced the gold-backed yuan. You just take your yuan and you bring it to the Shanghai Gold Exchange and you get yourself your gold. Just made up. JP Morgan has 800 million ounces of silver. Not one shred of evidence that you can point to that has. But you can't prove they don't have it, and it makes sense for them to have it. These are smart people who believe this stuff and repeat it. And then use the old, you can't prove it's not true, or, but JP Morgan's a criminal bank. Okay, so if JP Morgan, you want to believe JP Morgan's a criminal bank. Okay, so you believe that. That means they have silver. Think how stupid that sounds. JP Morgan is a criminal bank, therefore they have 800 million ounces of silver. There wasn't a lot of Silver Eagles sold, I believe, but there were a lot of Silver Eagles reported sold, so therefore JP Morgan must have bought them. I mean, this is the type of stuff you have. China to crush the dollar. China is planning this. Who in China is planning this? Who told you this? Oh, The Voice told me, or something like it. Some guy told you, and he repeats it. The BRICS are going to crush the dollar. China's going to crush the dollar. The dollar's going to crush itself. SDRs are going to be launched January 1st, 2018, because the IMF wants to do it. Do you know anything about how the IMF works? Do you know how they would get around, how they would issue that? No. But I saw somebody online say it, and a lot of people repeat it. You get these stories. These are narratives that get pushed, repeated, and it's trust the scam. All it comes down to. You just cherry pick data, you invent data, you fill in the blanks, and if somebody says, well, that doesn't sound right, well, you can't prove it's not true. And no, you can't. And you can't prove that you're making any sense either. So you got anomaly hunters. They look for things that you can't explain, and therefore you can't prove them. And the main thing is you want to believe that they're true. Once you want to believe something, you're going to get pulled in. And if you get other people to believe it, then it's like, wow, everybody believes this. And then if experts believe it, the same experts that may have been wrong for the last 10 years, but somehow they're still experts, but they're saying this story, well, we might as well believe them because who are these people saying it's not true? What do they know? They're not experts. Somebody asked me what engineering background I had in order to say that the AC chain story was fake. And I'm thinking, why would I need an engineering background to know that the story was fake? So again, people like to also point to perceived experts as to what they know, and somehow they're experts, and therefore they know what's going on. All right, tonight I was going to do, but this came up. I wanted to go through a situation. We'll try to do it tomorrow. What happens to the price of commodities when there are surpluses caused by decreases in the number of workers? We'll save that for tomorrow. Let's take a look at what you guys are thinking or saying amongst yourselves over in the comments. All right, let's see what we got here. My. Andrew Del Quadro says, how's it going? Hello, Andrew. William Piper, the GOP and Trump could have pulled the trigger on the Dems 2 years ago. Absolutely true. They didn't need to play some kind of trust the plan and have Sessions play possum for 2 years. The reason they didn't do anything is because Sessions wasn't going to do anything, and Trump didn't want to fire him and get the people in the streets. Now that the midterms are over, he doesn't care. They obviously have no intention of doing that. That may not be true. I think Trump actually may have wanted to do something. Had he had the right attorney general, he may have done it. The goalpost just keeps moving. Yes, it's mind-boggling anyone swallows this. That's right. Trump met a Russian once, says Annabelle. I don't believe, here's the thing. Trump probably has done lots of stuff wrong. I mean, I don't know that he has. I wouldn't be surprised that he's done things wrong. But there's no evidence that he's done anything wrong with Russians. And that's what's strange to me, is that somehow that's what they came up with. Hitler drank water, Trump drinks water, and I said, well, yeah, well, that's the case. That's exactly, they're both the same. Eli, the left were against Sessions in the beginning, and now they support him. Too funny. Well, it's the same thing with Comey, right? Comey was the man. He exonerated Hillary, and then he reopened the investigation for her benefit. He did that. He reopened the investigation when they found Weiner's emails, spent the week not looking at them, and then said there's nothing to see here, because in his mind, he thought that was going to help her get elected, because she was going to get elected anyway, and once she got elected, there'd be no cloud hanging over her head that they needed to investigate anything like these emails. So he figured he'd open the investigation. Now they hate him. And then when he went against Trump, now they love him again. John Moore is here. What's up, everyone? He says, now John's going around still, signing up merchants all along the East Coast for Litecoin. Very good work. Max Strong, greeting penny hoarders. Tossing Molotovs. William, I drink water. Uh-oh. John Moore, send me here. Q, send me here. Yes, it's part of the plan, Max. Mystery versus mystery. LOL, I suggest you stick to your gold and silver stories, because what is going on is clearly over my head. Yes, because you know, you have the inside information. You've probably listened to more YouTube stories about Q and what's really going on. Thank you for that. I'll make sure that I stay away from things that I have no understanding of. What's up, Max? I think Q is Roger Stone, LOL. William Piper, U.S. national politics is now pro-wrestling style theatrics and tabloid clickbait, yellow journalism, ideal environment for Trump. That's true. That is definitely true. Actually, I think a lot of it would have been under the surface, this kind of what was going on, and I think Trump has brought it like into the front. There it is, William Piper, Mel Brooks, the producers, brilliant comedy. I think that movie's like from 1969, and I think I saw it way back then. That's why I don't remember. I do remember the concept. They were trying to make a bomb, and they made a hit. Broadway hit. Mel Brooks can't make films today thanks to NPC idiot foe outrage. Well, think about Blazing Saddles. What's in that movie they could never get away with? Mystery versus mystery. They wanted to gain control of the Senate. Sessions were removed later after this. This guy is clueless. I don't know if you mean Sessions or me, but first of all, that's exactly what I said. That Trump wanted to gain control of the Senate and get rid of Sessions because Sessions is not part of any plan. All right, agreed. You can't have any more mild-edged comedies anymore. No, you can't. Well, if you think about what comedy is now, it's just basically Trump bashing. That's all it is on the late-night shows. There's no stories here. Thank God only 36 people are listening to this idiot, says Mystery Mystery. Or maybe, never mind. Trust Smaulgld. It's only been nearly a decade of gold-silver videos with absolutely zero accuracy. Mystery versus mystery, so don't watch. Choose a different YouTube channel. That's always the case. Tossing Molotovs, mystery versus mystery is full of... And that looks like, and I'm going to have to use all of my sleuthing, that looks like a turd. All right. TR Platinum. Mystery versus mystery. Controlled opposition needs to be carefully absorbed. Here we go. This is the one. He's a shill. He's a disinformation agent. I heard it on a YouTube channel with far more viewers. That's the other one. If you got fewer viewers, you must be wronger than people who have more viewers. That's the point. You get more views when you talk these narratives that appeal to people. And that's why they want to hear them, so they tune in. And not only, in fact, if you repeat the narrative, you'd get more views than I get. You could be like a minor channel. If you're like the 15th, 25th most watched Q channel, you're going to get more views than me. Because that's the big story. People want to hear it. They go to the top Q channel, then they go to the second one, and the third one, and then the fifth one, and they're trusting the plan, and they're hearing it everywhere, and their brain is just repeating itself. Trust the plan. Trust the plan. Trust the plan. Sessions knows what he's doing. Sealed indictments. Bunch of nonsense. Okay. Q is a CIA side, but could very well be. In that, they want the same thing that they want, is people to trust and leave Sessions in place. Don't get rid of Sessions, because then Trump might go after Mueller. They can't have that. Trust the plan. Mystery versus mystery. I like having mystery versus mystery here. It's great. Full name from the US, UK. He's given us a documentary, but I don't see the link. Okay. Eli, yes, because you're awake. Everyone who trusts the plan is woke. That's the other thing. You want to think that you've got the inside scoop and you're woke. I saw a YouTube channel. Some guy told me this, and then I heard it on another channel. And then I spoke to a group, and there's an anonymous chat room, and they say the same thing. Oh my God, this is all true. Caught again spoofing. Eli, mystery versus mystery. No, because you were asleep still. Okay. Smaulgld told me go back and check his videos. He's the one who peddled this stories. Smile, smile, smile. Yes, I peddle these stories. I'm a sorry peddler. I'm a sorry peddler. But bankers are all criminals. Pablo Pina, if this is a PSYOP operation, what's the goal then? Well, didn't we just explain what the potential goal is, Pablo? That if the left is trying to protect Mueller because they think Mueller has the goods on Trump, whether he does or not, they need to keep that illusion up. Then they also need to convince the right that Mueller needs to stay in place, and how best to keep Mueller in place and try to keep people from wanting Sessions fired is to say, no, Sessions, he needs to stay because he's going to do sealed indictments. And in fact, he's working with Mueller, the two of them. They're going to take down the deep state together. All right. Mystery versus mystery is okay. All right, let's see here. You guys are going back and forth. Thursday night troll night. Eli, okay. All right, let's see. Guys are battling each other. So, AU and AG has gone to the moon. No. You believe in whatever. Yes. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't know how you can continue. It's okay to listen to people. Remember, I don't make predictions. I just throw out stuff when I analyze stuff. And if you're making predictions and you're insisting that your predictions are right and that's what you base your guru-hood on, that there's going to be a great wealth transfer, a silver set to skyrocket. The chart says this, never happened before, Comex commercials have gone long and therefore silver set to skyrocket, JP Morgan is going to let all these stories, and then they don't happen. The gold-silver ratio is unsustainable for 7 years, and it just keeps going higher. How does that provide you with any comfort that they're experts or gurus when they're telling you and everything they tell you goes in the opposite direction? Because their expertise, I think, is based on the fact that they understand the markets and they're telling you they're going higher or the ratio is going lower or whatever it is, and it doesn't happen. Well, you've been convinced that they are. And you're convinced that because I only have 3,300 subscribers or 31 people watching right now, that I don't know anything. Because if I knew something, I'd have more numbers. Okay. Think of your pop charts and then, never mind, how many people buy certain music. All right. Yes, because Smaulgld has all the answers, says mystery versus mystery. Nope, I don't. In fact, that's the first thing I'll tell you. I don't have any answers. I have a methodology. I like to look at things, figure them out, what I can figure out, what I can't figure out, what I can know, what I can't know. And then I do my own research into what I can figure out and what I can know and what data I can find. And then I try to think, why might this story be true? And then I also say, why might this story not be true? What I don't do is mindlessly repeat stories, insist they're true, and then tell everyone else that the story is true. And if you don't believe it, you must be a disinformation agent or some type of a shill. And then go trolling on boards and saying, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He's only got 31 people watching. He must not know what he's talking about. All right. Nancy Pelosi is comedy gold. That she is. He was saying 3 cheers for she didn't say for people with pre-existing conditions. She said 3 cheers for pre-existing conditions. I don't think anyone with a pre-existing condition wants pre-existing conditions. But that's Nancy Pelosi. She may surprise us. All right. I watch the shows you talk of, then I come here to sober up, says Angela Morris. Look, the best thing about all these stories, you don't even ever have to listen to me. You just have to say to yourself, okay, let me go back over the last 5 years and let me look at some of these stories. Comex default, that never happened. China to crush the dollar, that didn't happen. Gold back yuan, that didn't happen. Gold silver ratio to come down to 16-1. That never happened. Sovereign size gold buy in 45 days. That never happened. AC chain is going to issue tokens and enslave humanity. That never happened. QAnon said Sessions is going to turn around and indict everyone. That didn't happen. The guy got fired. Gold set to skyrocket. That never happened. BRICS to crush the dollar. That's not happening. Bolsonaro's telling China to go pound sand. These stories are all wrong. JP Morgan has 800 million ounces of silver. There's no proof to that. All right. We're going to have to wind up here. The dog is a barking. All right. The goal is typically to pacify. We'll do anything but listen. Just wait till fires. No wait till for November. Let's see. Gullible Travels. I buy gold because I'm scared of my bank deposit being bailed in. Perfect good reason. There's plenty of great reasons to buy gold. Not these set to skyrocket ones. That's a very good one. That's insurance against bank failure. That works in Venezuela. That works in Turkey. It could work here. It worked in Cyprus. Nothing. I'm not against the gold and silver. I'm against these pumper stories that are so fake. All right. Bail-ins are real. Yes, and they're legislated worldwide. Absolutely. And you can look that up. And I've done research on this 3 or 4 years ago. Absolutely. There's discussion. See, that's a story that makes sense. There's facts behind that story. When you say you're buying gold because you're worried about the currency, you're worried about bail-ins, it makes total sense. But when you say it's because this chart says this, and if you stand on your head and you listen to Jimi Hendrix backwards at 78 speed, and because it came on the 3rd of this, and Shemitah's coming, and therefore it's going to skyrocket on this date, that's complete nonsense. Yeah, well, actually, I have the data, Gullible. I haven't done updated research on it, but I know that there are statutes that they call bail-ins, where they have a tiered amount of debt where it's called bail-inable debt. And guess what's bail-inable debt? The money that you deposit in your bank account. That I know is throughout Europe. And I know that the U.S. has had plans that have discussed bail-inable debt. There's also issues everyone knows if you're paying attention. You know, if you report this story, I'm not going to trash it, that the FDIC doesn't have enough money to back your deposit. Those are true stories. You can look those up, those numbers up. You can find out how FDIC works. It doesn't. It's there to make people think that their money is in the bank. We know the Fed will tell you there's less than $2 trillion worth of actual cash backing deposits in the bank, and there's like $100 trillion in banks. They don't even have enough cash. It's not even backed cash. They don't even have enough of it, and 2/3 of that cash, according to the Fed, is overseas. So there's a lot of facts that are stunning and would like make you think, geez, I really should be thinking about gold and silver, but not these other stupid stories. All right, now I'm a fan of payback. Thank you for your wisdom. All right, guys, I want to thank you very much. The big, huge crowd that showed up today, proving to a certain extent that I must be right, because people showed up to listen. If I was talking to myself, I'd really be wrong. Thank you very much, everyone. Oh, by the way, you see that, what you're looking at on your screen? That's the new Smaulgld beer stein, and you can get that directly from the manufacturer. I'll give you the link right now. That is something that you really, really want to get yourself if you already have your Smaulgld mugs for your morning beverages and for your evening adult beverages. Get yourself the Smaulgld beer stein. That is $24.99. Thank you, Pablo. Now, someone is saying something else here. It was good having you today here, Mystery versus Mystery. I hope you come back. You're good with the icons. That's awesome. Yeah, American penny. Well, pennies, pennies are made of copper. We could not live our lives without copper. Copper is used to transport water in pipes. Therefore, copper is the most useful metal in our lives. Copper conducts electricity. Without electricity, we could not have electronics. We couldn't even have Bitcoin without copper. See, copper is the essential metal. All right, guys. We're going to say buonanotte. Good night, Eli, Pablo, Mystery, Angela, Max, Gullible, Mystery versus Mystery, and whoever else is still on the line. Have a good one.